Okay, I have a square, 8 by 8. Point C is the midpoint of line AB. D is the midpoint of this line. Right, within it, we've got a square, and within that, we've got another little square. I want to try and find the area of this square, little square. Now, for me to be able to do that, I need the length and the width. Obviously, both numbers are going to be the same because it's a square. So I need the length and the width. I can just work out this one maybe. Right, to work out this length here, EF, I need to know what DE and DF is, what numbers need to go here. Because then I can use Pythagoras to get this thick line over here, this side over here. For me to be able to get DE, I need to know what DC is. Because once I've worked out what DC is, I can half it to get my DE. Now, to work out DC, I need to know what AC is and AD is. Both numbers are going to be the same. So once I've worked out this AC and AD, I can use Pythagoras to get DC. Half of DC is DE. Then I can use Pythagoras over here to get this thick line over here. And that thick line, the number for that thick line, will be the same as this one over here. Then I can just do length times width. We know AB is 8 centimeters, so therefore AC is 4 centimeters, and so is AD, 4 centimeters. Let me just quickly sketch that. So I can work out DC, which is all of that, using Pythagoras. I'll just use the longer version of Pythagoras. So we have DC squared is equal to AC squared plus AD squared. Well, AC is 4, 4 squared. AD is also 4, 4 squared. Simplify. 4 squared is 16, 16 add 16, 32. Now to work out what just DC is, you need to get rid of the squaring. You need to cancel out the squaring. To cancel out the squaring, you have to square root. What have you done on this side? Do on the other side. So square root both sides. The square root will knock out squaring. You're left with DC is equal to root 32. Obviously, root 32 is going to be a decimal number. This being a non-calculated question, I'm going to leave it in Surds form and use this for my further calculations. So we've established that DC is root 32, and we know DE is half of that. So half of root 32 divided by 2. That's DE. And so now what I want to do is sketch this triangle for me to be able to work at this red line over here. Right, this side here is root 32 over 2. This also is root 32 over 2. So I want to work at this side over here, the longest side. Remember, that's a right angle triangle, and that's the longest side over there. So using Pythagoras, EF squared is equal to DE squared plus DF squared. We're using plus because we're trying to find the longer side. Right, DE is root 32 over 2. Not forgetting to square it. And the same over here. Root 32 squared is 32. And then 2 squared is 4. Same over here. Same denominator, so copy the denominator. 32 by 32 is 64. So we have 64 divided by 4, 16. So EF squared is 16. So something squared to give me 16, obviously EF is going to be 4. So we established that EF over here is 4. So if this side is 4, this side is going to be 4 as well. Remember, we're now working out this part, the small square. Length times width, 16. That's the area, the units, centimeters squared. This is a similar question. This is taken from Corbett Maths. This one carries 4 marks, so obviously you'd have to do quite a bit of working out to gain those 4 marks. If you need to look at the working out, please pause the video. Some of you will have probably noticed, if you look at this first on the left hand side, this is 8. So and we've established that this is 4 in our calculation. So some of you will say, well, half of 8 is 4. Then you just do 4 times 4 to give the 16. And similarly here, this is 10 centimeters, and we established that this is 5 in our calculations. Half of 10 is 5. But then, how can you be certain that this is 5? How can you be absolutely certain? Now, some of you might say, well, this is 10, this length here is 10, and this length over here looks half of 10. Yeah, you're making assumptions. Right, this diagram might not be to scale, so you can't make any assumptions, you can't make any judgments. Best do all the calculation to be certain that this is 5, not just because it looks like it.